Okay.
Yeah, hi Shubham. So introduce yourself.
Yeah, hi. My name is Shubham Malgur. I come from Belgaum, Karnataka, and I graduated from Bashveshwar Engineering College, Bagalkot. And I have 5 plus years of experience in IT industry. And I recently worked in TCS in an e-commerce project where front end tools we used was Node.js and Flutter, and back end we used Java Spring Boot. And I have in this 5 plus years experience, I have hands-on experience on AWS, Terraform, Jenkins, Kubernetes, Docker, and Helm and Ansible, and also Git as well. This is briefly about my introduction.
Okay. So coming to the AWS, in AWS, what and all services you know?
Yeah, in AWS, I worked with IAM services, and EC2, VPC, and RDS, Lambda, CloudWatch, and yeah, these are some of the services I work with.
Okay. So what do you mean by Lambda?
So Lambda is nothing but a serverless compute option available in AWS, where all the server level management is taken care by AWS, and we can get the service of only we have to only pay for compute time of our application. So for any small applications or any small tasks, if you want to take, we can take this option of Lambda, where we can run the application without worrying about the server. Managing the server and all. So yeah, this is the Lambda.
So any use case, how you use the Lambda in your project?
Yeah, so we created a Lambda function to fetch the logs from CloudWatch, which was watching three batch jobs. So a Lambda function used to take the logs from the CloudWatch, and it used to scrap these logs as per our requirements. So we have written one Lambda function in Java, which we just get these logs and scrap them, and then we used to push these logs into the InfluxDB, which used to store this data in time series data, and this data was connected to the Grafana in order to visualize these jobs. So this is one of the use cases we use in our project, so that we can able to check on the logs in one dashboard only.
Okay, nice. So in AWS or in your project, which type of database you used?
So in our project, we used a Postgres database in our applications. Yeah, so I used to create databases based on Postgres as per our requirements.
Okay. So how you take that database or what was the plan in your project? How you manage the backup and all?
So whenever while creating the RDS, I used to select like we used to have these multi-availability zone cluster option. It was automatically available in while creating the RDS. So if we are using it's based on the requirement. If you are using in the production, we have to take the option of multi-availability zone cluster option, and we have to enable the backup and encryption while creating the RDS. So it will able to not only backup and also highly secure. So this we can use for production, and other options like in test and dev environment. Is as per project it changes, but in our project in test and dev environment, we didn't used to create a multi-availability zone clusters. We used to create a single DB instance database only. So this is how you can create backup, and these backups are normally managed by AWS only.
Okay, it is managed by AWS, but you need to schedule it, right?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. And so, what is difference in CloudWatch and CloudTrail?
Cloud. So the CloudWatch will give the information about the AWS resources that it watches the all the cloud AWS resources, AWS resources and all the logs. On the other hand, CloudTrail. I know I didn't. I'm not able to recall right now. So maybe it's about the users' information. All the I think so.
Okay.
I am not able to exactly recall the difference because mostly I work with CloudWatch. So
What is S3?
S3 is the storage. Uh, Object storage available in AWS resources, in which we can store the objects which can be able to access by AWS resources as well as from outside by public also.
Okay. What is S3 Lifecycle Manager?
So S3 lifecycle manager is you can set the rules, set the rules for migration of object from one storage class to another storage class based on your requirements like number of days. So the object will move from one storage class to another storage class as the number of days goes on increasing. So this is S3 lifecycle.
Okay. So, what is Route 53 in AWS?
So the Route 53 in AWS is it is the easiest way of it's one of the cheapest and easiest way of DNS web server available in AWS through which we can it will route the it will able to route the DNS resolver. Also, it has some other features like it also acts as a load balancer and it also registers the new domain name and etc. So this is the Route 53 service available in AWS.
Okay. What are the different routing rules available there?
Uh, Different routing. You mean policy routing types? Okay.
Yeah.
So there are one is there is a simple routing policy where it checks the IP, host name, it checks the host name for IP address, and it will give the simple location without any rules. The other is the weighted routing policy, where it's based on the weightage. It will send the traffic to the it will send the request to the particular resources. So we can give the weightage like that. For 30% it can go to particular resource and 70% it will go to particular resource. And also there is a geolocation policy. So based on the user's location, so whatever resource is available nearer, it will the traffic will route it to there. And also there is a latency routing policy. So this is whatever availability is on nearer to the particular user. So like or whichever resource will able to serve the purpose and have the low latency, that resource will be selected for routing. And yeah, these are the routing policies available in the Route 53.
Okay. In auto scaling, can you
Yeah.
briefly explain me what is auto scaling and what are the different scaling policies you know, how it works?
So auto scaling in AWS is whenever you like maintain the high availability of the servers, like based on the requirement, there may be an increase in load. or there may be a decrease in load. So that's why you have to maintain the minimum servers you require and the maximum server you can afford. And in between them, the server can scale up and scale down based on the workload. So this is the auto scaling available in AWS. So for while creating the auto scaling, you need to give the first create the launch template. So this template can be used to create auto scaling groups. While creating the auto scaling group, you have to give the maximum and minimum instances you want and desired instance, and you have to give the auto scaling policy. So there are different auto scaling policies available in AWS. So the one is basic is manual thing, where you manually go and change the minimum so the desired state, and and also there are other dynamic policies available there. One is the target utilization policy, where you give the target, for example, if you are using metrics as CPU, if CPU is greater than 80%, then increase by this percent. So you can give the scale. So this is one of the option. There is also a simple step policy and uh, uh, there is also step policy and simple policy. That is the step policy is whenever the alarm breaches, the based on the amount of breach, it increases the instances. On the other hand, there is a simple step policy which will just for each alarm breach, it will just increase the instance by one step. That is, it doesn't matter how large the breach was. The reaction will be only in one step. Also, there is a productive. Uh, the productive scaling policy, where it uses AI based on your historic records. It uses AI to predict the load, and it automatically increases the instances. And also, you can have a schedule scaling policy, where like based on your business history, if you know that at particular time the workload will increase, you can schedule for that time the instance can increase. So these are few of the auto scaling policies available in AWS.
Okay. So, which source code management tool you know or you have experience?
So I have experience in Git and GitHub and GitLab.
Okay. So, what do you mean by branch in Git?
So branch is nothing but parallel development of code. Like same piece of code can be branched out from the main branch, and it can be parallelly move forward by development by two developers. And once a person is able to satisfied with his work, he can able to merge it into the main branch if he wants. So that's branching in Git.
Explain me your project branching strategy.
So in our project, we used to have developer used to work on the feature branch first. Then once the feature, whenever the developer satisfied with the code, he used to push the code into the feature branch. It used to trigger a Jenkins pipeline. So let's just assume that if that build is successful, he used to request for, he used to raise the pull request. Once the pull request is accepted, this branch is merged into the alpha branch. This alpha branch is once the code is deployed in alpha branch, it used to be deployed in the alpha environment, where a simple integration testing used to be done, and and other one user used to check the load and everything is properly integrated or not. So once this is passed, it again pull request used to be raised, and it is pushed into the staging branch. Once it's pushed the staging branch, is used to deploy it into the staging environment. In staging environment, we used to check the performance test and and we used to increase the number of like auto scaling, and we used to based on the auto scaling test we used to take, we used to decide maximum and minimum pods we require. And once this is passed, we used to again raise the pull request, and now it used to go. Uh, if it is approved, it used to merge into the prod branch, which is the main branch. So whenever it is merged into main branch, the it used to trigger the Jenkins pipeline to deploy into the production environment. So before that, manual intervention used to come that the approval is to be done by the CAB team. They used to review based on what all changes we have done and everything is fine or not. Once they approved, we used to deploy it into the production environment. So this is the branching strategy we use in our project.
Great. Then, how you manage the bugs or if any kind of issues then in a production, then how you manage it?
So if any production issues used to come, we used to create separate branch in the master branch like hotfix branch, and developer used to work on that branch to fix that issue. And whenever and once the issue bug is resolved, we used to merge it into the master branch. And this branch, once this is over, we have to create same hotfix branch in other branches also, and merge back together so that we have the same resolved code everywhere in all the branches.
Okay. So, what is Git Squash?
So, Git squash is nothing but if you want to combine multiple commit IDs into one single commit ID, you use Git squash. So, the command is git rebase -i, and head and the number of commit tilde and number of commit IDs you want to squash. So, if you give five, the latest five commit IDs will be squashed into one commit ID. So, this is you normally use before pulling and pushing the code to the central repository, so that you can have all the you can have the only important commit IDs, and all the small commit IDs will be squashed into a main commit ID.
So, you have experience on a Jenkins. So,
Yeah, yeah.
in your project, how many stages are there? Explain me the each stage, how it works.
Okay. So in our Jenkins pipeline, so firstly, we whenever the developer used to push the code into the GitHub, it used to trigger the Jenkins pipeline. So first, it will first stage it will have is Git checkout. So it used to so that whenever the developer pushes, it is always be looking for that branch, and it will just trigger the job, and it will just pull the source code from the GitHub. And the second stage is the static code analysis, where we used to scan the code for any vulnerabilities in the SonarQube server. And in SonarQube server, we have created quality gates like it used to check duplicates, reliability, vulnerabilities, and other features. And code coverage we have used is 80%. That is, if code coverage is not passed, like it does not pass the 80%, like if it is more than 80%, then only we used to pass the code. If it is less than 80%, we used to fail the build there only, and inform the developer. And next stage it used to go is build stage, where since we are using the Java code, we used Maven as a build tool here. And once the build is completed, uh, next uh, yeah, next once the build is completed, next we used to go to the Docker. So in Docker, based on this image, we have created a Docker file. We used to build we used to build an image out of this build, and we used to store it based and the tag we used to give is the build ID. So this used to be pushed back to the Docker Hub. So Docker Hub is the where we used to manage our all the builds we have created, so that all with with each tag we know that which build has uh, which build saved in which image. And once this is done based on the requirements, if you want to deploy this build, we used to deploy it using the Helm in Kubernetes. So next stage is we used to push that image in Kubernetes and deploy by using the Helm commands. So this is the last stage we used to have in our Jenkins. And if it is the production branch, before this, we used to have an manual approval stage where the email used to send out to the senior management, and only they have the permission to deploy it into the production branch, and they will just check all the requirements and discuss with the CAB team. And if everything is fine, they just pass the build to be deployed in the production environment.
Okay. So here, in a lower environment like alpha and all, when
Uh,
a deployment is successful, then I want to just run the a test script. So how you can integrate that stage here?
can you come again? I didn't understand the question.
So in lower environments, in just
Uh,
think it is a alpha. In a
okay,
alpha environment, when the build is successful, we used to deploy in a Kubernetes cluster.
okay,
So there, once after deployment, the testing team will test the code, right? Test the
okay.
build. But here I want to
Uh,
make it automated one. Okay, so here I want to run the test scripts. So after the
test script.
deployment, I want one more stage as a testing.
One more stage as a testing.
Yeah. So how you can
Um,
do that integration test,
okay.
or how you can integrate that
So
stage here?
so if you are using sometimes if you are using any shell scripts, we can create another stage in our Kubernetes server where we can run this after the deployment and test server stage, test environment stage. We can have another stage where we can run these commands. Like if you have created scripts already, then we can just run these commands, and we can have another script to save all these logs, uh, and this is how I think we can automate the test environment also, the tests also
No.
in test environment. Um,
Okay, here the expected answer is something different. Just go through it.
okay,
Okay. So how to
okay.
integrate the testing stage, or because some scripts are there already, the test team has some script, or they
So
have the
that's what I
separate
said, right?
pipelines.
Test scripts. No, no, that's what I said. Test script are in Bash scripts only, right? Or some other scripts,
They have a
or Python
testing
script maybe.
pipelines already created that you can integrate here.
For testing, there is another pipeline created, and we can use this as a upstream job and that as a downstream job.
Yeah, can you tell me how you can trigger that pipeline? I don't want upstream
Oh,
job here.
that pipe.
I want
Okay.
that stage to
Okay,
be
when this is
created.
done, that jobs to be triggered, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so you can use that option in while creating the job. It in I think build trigger. It asks when this particular, like when creating next job, it will ask build triggers. When this particular job is project is created, this build will trigger. So you have to select that option, and you have to give the this project, like it will ask project name, and which project name and everything, and also it will ask that if only trigger if it's successful or if it is unstable, something like that, or defend every time. So if you just have to select that option. So once you selected that, once this job is successful, that is when this is deployed into the test environment, that job you will able to be triggered, and that job will run. If that is the test if that job will run the test scripts on this environment, and so that's how you can have the option of not only deploying into the test environment and running all tests also in single pipeline.
In your project, your pipelines are written in means scripted pipeline. Maybe you are using or a Groovy script you are using, right?
Yes, yes,
You,
yes,
you are
yes, yes,
reading the script over there. I hope there is no
yes.
any the simple Maven build and all to select these things
No,
and
no,
trigger it,
no,
right?
no, no.
So I
Yes.
need a stage. If you select these
Okay, okay, I
things,
get it. I get it.
it will not
Mhm.
show you the stage.
Okay, I get it. So in script there is an option to all this whatever I told, right? Telling.
So how to write a script to call the another pipeline, that you need to check here.
Okay, okay, fine.
So what is difference here in a pipeline scripting and Groovy scripting?
What pipeline and isn't pipeline
Scripted,
scripting and Groovy
scripted
scripting?
and Groovy scripting. Scripted pipeline and a Groovy type pipeline.
Okay, declarative, you mean, okay.
Declarative.
So, script, okay, the scripted pipeline is the most traditional way of scripting in Jenkins. We normally we used it in older versions before the declarative option was available. So here we write in imperative programming languages and used we write normal in Node box. And one of the disadvantages we can't have this in any other repository like Git and everything. So it is very difficult to work with collaborative work. So nowadays, I don't think anyone uses scripted pipeline. So most people use a declarative pipeline only, which is written in Groovy language. And here we use a pipeline block, and it's normally used in declarative programming languages that everything is almost available. You just need to give as per your requirements commands. And also one of the other advantages, you can share this file in Jenkins so that collaborative work and multiple people able to in teams can able to access and contribute to the project. So these are the differences between scripted and declarative.
So how many slave machines you have in your project?
Um, so okay, I think slow machines we have are slow machines. I mean, we used to have the Docker images to act as a slave machine in our project. So we so I don't know exactly how to tell this answer actually. What is the thing? Hello.
See, you can give the number here. If you are using still using a Docker as a if you are using a dynamic slave machine, then still you can go with the number, right? So a 3, 4, any slave machine, because I
You
told
mean
you
okay, 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 okay. I thought
don't
in whole project, if you're asking in one job,
not
like
see, the slave machine is not particular job, right?
yes, yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
It is for
So,
whole project itself.
hmm.
So here you need
So
to
based
decide
on
for
the
a
stage,
front
it
end
will change,
related,
right?
for front end related, for back end related. How I explained it, the slave machine will differ as per the tools,
Yeah, yeah,
environment
yeah. But
variables,
exact number,
configurations.
yeah, I got it. That for we need to remember exact number, right?
You
Like
need to
okay, this
decide
much.
it.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
there you should not think.
Yeah, I know, but like for example, if market standard is normally something like 10 and 20, and if I say 5, right?
There is no any
So
standard.
that's
It's
why.
depend on a project.
Okay.
Everything. If you tell it is only two slave machine manage our whole project, that is also fine. But you need to give relatable answer there. If your project is something, you have a 27, 30 microservices running, and if you tell there one or two slave machine, then it is not a relatable.
See, that's okay.
Okay, tell 6 or 7 microservices running. For a
Okay.
job related, for build purpose, 4 are dedicated and other 3 are dedicated for other pipelines. Other pipelines
Mm.
in the sense you are building the dependencies. Sometime you
Mm.
for that purpose, right?
Okay.
So Terraform scripts are running through the Jenkins for that purpose.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So what are the plugins you have configured in Jenkins?
Yeah, I worked with Git, Maven, Kubernetes, Docker, and role-based access strategy, role-based authorization strategy, extended email notification, and copy artifact deploy to containers, and Sonar Cube server, and yeah, the thin backup, and Open Blue Ocean. Yeah, so these are few of the plugins I worked in Jenkins.
Okay. So here we need a person who can write a pipeline from the scratch. Do you have experience for writing these pipelines?
Yes, I have experience in writing a Jenkins pipeline.
Okay.
So, so the basic structure of Jenkins pipeline is you start with pipeline, then you can define like agent if you want to give any none or Docker or label, and if you give any, it will run on either it can run on slave or it can run on master Jenkins only. If you give none, then you have to give slave machines for each stage. And if you give Docker, that means you are using as something as a Docker machine, Docker images. And if you label, you have to give the label name. And then you can define tools which will be used in the Jenkins pipeline. So then you can define global variables here. And if you don't want to define, if you have a stage-wise variables, you can define them in stages. So once this is done, you go to the stages block. So in each stage, in stages block, you can have multiple stages. In each stage, you will have steps, and this is basically how the basic structure of Jenkins pipeline, Jenkins file is. So yes,
Okay.
hello.
So do you have any idea about integration part, Jenkins with the Sonar Cube or Jenkins with the JFrog Artifactory?
Yeah, I have experience with integrating Jenkins with Sonar Cube. You need to have installed Jenkins Sonar Cube plugin, and you have to configure it by going into Manage Jenkins system, and there you will get in Sonar Cube environment, like Sonar Cube Scanner credentials. There you have to give the like its server address and SonarCube token, which you would have created and generated in SonarCube. And once this is done, you can call that into your Jenkins pipeline by using like there are two options with which you can call that Jenkins sorry, SonarCube. One is with SonarCube function with available in Jenkins. With this, you can able to call that on the SonarCube. Or if you want to use with credentials, like if you want to like if password you want to protect and secure even more, you can use with credential as an option. So you can pass that password as a variable, and after that you can use like mun uh, mun sonar, and I think you can use d dot login and that username and d dot password, and you can that pass that password as a variable there. So this is how you can integrate SonarCube in Jenkins.
Okay.
Hello. Yeah.
Okay. So how good you are in Docker and Kubernetes? How much you can rate
So
yourself?
in Docker, I would say I'm 7 because you used to normally use I used to write Docker I used to write Docker file and used to if there are any errors, I used to check using Docker inspect command. So, but the containers we used to manage in Kubernetes. So most of the work I worked more in Kubernetes. So I would rate there a 9. So yes.
Mm-hmm. So explain me the Docker architecture.
So in Docker, we have this has a client server architecture. Here we have Docker client and a Docker daemon, and in the middle we have REST API, which through which Docker client communicates with Docker client. So Docker client is nothing but user terminal where user enters Docker commands and once user uh, enters Docker command, Docker client communicates these commands to the Docker daemon via REST API or through Unix socket. And Docker daemon is the one which is responsible for creating all the Docker services like containers, containers, images, services, volumes, etc. And it is the one which manages, distributes, and destroys the containers and images, and it receives the commands as a REST API requests, and it executes them. And we also have Docker host. It is Docker host on is the one on which the Docker daemon is installed, and it gives the environment on which the Docker commands are executed by Docker daemon. And here we also have Docker Hub, where all the once images are built, we can able to store those images in this Docker Hub. It works as a repo. Here we have private and public register also. So based on our requirement, we can push the created images in particular registry. So this is basically the Docker architecture actually. Simple explanation.
Okay. So how to expose your container to the outside?
So for this you have to use hyphen p like the publish option. So whenever you are running the container, you have to use flag hyphen p, and you have to map whatever exposed container target port to the node port which you want to expose. For example, if you use hyphen p 8080 colon 80, if the target port the container port is 80, then the container port 80 will map with the node port 8080, and you will able to access a container from outside through node at 8080 port.
Okay. So how you run the container? Can you explain me the full command?
Yeah. So full command, I mean, it's based on requirement. You can have multiple things, but basically you can use a Docker run. You can use Docker run hyphen name for if you want to give the name of the container. If you don't, it will auto generate. Then you can use the image name, and you can use that bin bash if you want to go into the if you want to run the bash, and you can also use hyphen it if you want to run the container and go into the container and execute the commands. And if you want to run the container in a detached mode, you have to use hyphen d, that is hyphen td. And yeah, so this is the basic command. So based on the requirements, you can have multiple flags if you want. So like you can also have hyphen network and hyphen p for publish. Like while running the command, you can have Docker run hyphen name the container name, then hyphen p, and as I told 8080 colon 80 and the image name and the bin bash, and this just opens the container and publish the container to internet application to internet.
So which type of Docker file you have written in your project?
So I have written a Docker file to run run the Java files. I mean, we used to pull the you used to pull the project from the Git, and we used to run the we used to run the used to build the sorry. So I need to explain the Docker file or
Yeah,
command or
Docker
okay.
file. They are asking what which type of Docker file you have written. Maybe it is for Tomcat, maybe Nginx, maybe what you are telling that Java related to
Okay, so
create that
in
image.
Java related, what we can do is in order to create a lightweight image, we can take some like OpenGDK lightweight image, and if you have a build as I told, we use Jenkins to build, right. So we can copy that build. I used to copy that build artifact into our images, and if image size is becoming more, we can also use the multi-stage build where first we can copy the artifact and run it, and then we can use the particular artifact into the next build to copy, and there we can use even lighter images which only have runtime environment required for applications, and it not so that's how we can able to reduce the image size. So this type of Docker files I used to write in my projects.
Can you explain me a particular file?
So
What and all
uh,
instructions there?
Okay, okay, like that. Okay. So we can have the in Jenkins, we can have first from. So from you can have OpenJDK, OpenJDK 11 Lite or OpenJDK 11 Alpine. So it's as per requirements. We can decrease the size also, and also then we can have the run command if you want to run any command while building the code, and maintainer who is creating that Docker file. In this case, I write my name. Then I used to create a working directory the using the instruction I think work directory we work dir. So once you this will just open the it will just show where you want to run these commands, and next I used to have the copy directory, sorry, copy instruction, where I used to copy the build artifact from local machine into the image, and then I used to have the expose where this container I need to expose to the public, and yes, so this is the basic Docker file I normally used to write whenever we whenever you build the application in Jenkins. That build I need to copy into the lightweight image, and that image we used to normally deploy it into the Kubernetes cluster. So this Docker file mostly used to write.
So which version of Kubernetes cluster you have experience?
So I have experience in 1.2x version of Kubernetes.
Okay. So how many nodes you have in your project?
So in my project, I have four nodes in my project in working as Kubernetes use.
What is the size?
Size of the node size is M5 large.
Okay. So how many microservices you have?
We had 27 microservices deployed in Kubernetes.
Okay. So how many namespaces?
We had, as I told in our branching strategy, so we used to have the everything we used to deploy it in Kubernetes only. So for each stage, each feature. So for each branch, we used to have the namespace like alpha namespace and staging namespace, pre-prod namespace, prod namespace.
Okay. So, how you expose your services to the outside in Kubernetes?
In Kubernetes, we used to have Kubernetes provides something called ingress. We used to use ingress as a ingress services to expose our application to the outside our cluster. So in our project, we used to have use Nginx as ingress, which is a third-party load balancer. So whenever first you need to install Nginx controller in Kubernetes cluster, and you have to write the Nginx source file with nothing but the routing rules, which Ingress Ingress will follow in order to route the traffic to the backend services. So in Ingress routing file, you also give the you also have in specs you have an Ingress class name. So if since we are using Nginx, we used to have Nginx there. So but we can also have some other third-party load balancers also if we require. So whenever request used to come through load balancer to Nginx controller, so it used to route to the particular microservices based on the based on the routing rules we written in Ingress resource file. So there for particular the rules in Ingress resource file we can have host based rules and we can have path based rules. So in our cases we used to have the path based rules. So for slash login, if you take an example, for slash login we used to have a particular backend service to be mapped. So whenever request comes for slash login, it used to go to the particular services and it used to connect with the particular microservice. So this is how the flow of the ingress used to work in our project. So whenever the traffic comes, so load balancer to the ingress controller, it uses the ingress resource file to find out which service it has to route, and it will route to the particular services, and through service it used to get to the particular microservice.
What is difference in deployment and stateful sets?
Deployment, some applications require user data at server side to be saved. For example, especially if you are deploying any database as a cluster, database in deployment stateful sets. So in databases, you require data to be saved and highly available, even if you are using auto scaling or anything. You want that to be saved and not uh, uh, like um, you don't want a delay there. So there you have to use the stateful sets where if you give any data, like if you give any volumes, for example persistent volumes, so for each particular microservice it will create separate database, and since in stateful sets you have headless services, so each pod can able to microservice can able to connect with other microservices. So that's how even if particular request which already is registered to particular microservices, if it again comes, it will able to recognize that it is already registered and it will able to fetch the details very easily. On the other hand, in deployment sets, since it does not have this headless services, so if particular user is requested and that request is went to the one microservices, since it does not it does not connect to the other microservices and all, so it will not able to remember a particular user request and it will again read the particular user credentials. So that is the main difference between deployment and stateful sets. So stateful sets we normally use for databases, and other front end tools we use deployment front end. applications, we can use deployments.
Okay. So, in your project, which deployment strategy you are using?
In our project, we used the I think rolling update only. So whenever like whenever we need to update, we used to update one by one. So we used to increase one pod with the upgraded version, and we used to delete one pod with the previous version, and best one by one we used to update. And once everything is done, we will have new version available.
So, can you write a deployment YAML file?
Yes. Do you want me to write in Notepad?
You can just explain me how what is the flow.
Okay, so in deployment YAML file, of course, first we have to give the API version at apps hyphen one and kind deployment, and can define the metadata. In metadata, you can give the deployment name and labels. And once this is done, you go to the spec section. In spec section, you can define first, you can define replica sets, that is number of replicas, and match labels. So the label name, that is which particular pod you want replica to be. And then when this is done, you can go for template. So template is where you define all the pod related specifics. So in template, you can give metadata of particular pod, the name and the label. And in spec section, in template spec section, you can give that container name, the container image, and any other like you can define volume modes also, and you can give any other command which need to be executed, and other options if you have. And once this is done, you can define ports also, the target port and all. And this is the template section. And we also have in templates.spec section, you can also define the liveliness probe and readiness probe. And once this template section is done, you can give in deployment.spec. You can also define a strategy and restart policy if you want. So this is the basic deployment YAML. So you can also define volumes also in deployment.spec.
Okay. So, how you can scale up your service or application according to the load in a Kubernetes?
You have to create object horizontal horizontal pod autoscaler on deployment. So this is how you can autoscale as per workload particular pods. So Kubernetes applies these deploys these SPAs in an intermediate like Docker daemon. Deploy this as a daemon in an intermediate period. So this period by default is 15 second. But if you want to change this, you can use a horizontal autoscaler, horizontal port autoscaler, and sync period. You use this parameter if you want to change this intermediate period. So for this each period, it will just go on and check, and based on that, it will decide on autoscaling. And for each period, it will first control manager will just check the HPA manifest file you have written. There in scale target of you have written a workload resource. It can be a stateful set or a deployment set. So that once it knows that there is whatever resource is, it will go to that resource manifest file, in that resource, and it will check which pod it wants to be take the metrics to, and it will just fetch all the metrics available. If there are number of pods available, it will just check the all the pods resources, like whatever the metrics available, it will just average this out, and it will just connect. It will just check with the again HPA manifest file whatever the target resource target utilization we have given. So it will just compare that, and based on that comparison, it will decide whether you need to auto scale or you need to scale out or scale in. And the target utilization, you can give either a raw value or as a percentage. If you give the raw value, it will just check the raw value, that metrics raw values, like for example, like how much the CPU is consumed and all. Raw value it will take and it will average out and it will compare. And if you give the percentage, like 50% consumption, that after that you want to auto scale. So there, what it does is you have to give while defining the pod, you have to give the resource limit. So because resource limit is important, if you do not give the resource limit, you will just skip that particular pod, so particular microservice. So you have to give the resource limit one, so because it will use that to create calculate the percentage value for consumption for each pod, and it will if multiple pods are created, it will just average out the percentage and compare it with the target utilization and scale in and scale out. So cooldown time by default it is 5 minutes. So if request has to be down for at least 5 minutes to decide to scale in. So but you can also change this using parameter. Hello.
Yeah, go ahead.
Uh, you can also change this if you use the parameter hyphen hyphen horizontal hyphen hyphen pod hyphen hyphen autoscaler and hyphen hyphen downtime. So using this parameter, you can also change the cooldown period available in Kubernetes, and you have to also give the maximum size and minimum size you want to use in your SPA. So this is basically how you can auto scale based on the workload in Kubernetes.
Okay. So how you troubleshoot the Kubernetes cluster if any issue is there or any pods are not coming up, any service is down, if anyone not able to access your deployments or pods or
So
services.
there are a lot of options why this can happen. So you can go for first. You can go for kubectl describe, and for this example, I am taking deployment as an example. So you can go for kubectl describe the deploy and deployment name. So this there you can get all the events, and you can check that okay where that there can be a problem. There can be sometimes what happens is there can be image pull back of problem that you sometimes the tag may be given wrong, or there may be some other errors with related to image name, and the Kubernetes is not able to pull particular image, so that's why application is not running. So you can rectify it by using just going to the YAML file and checking the Kubernetes the container uh, image name. So this is one of the options. The other option is sometimes resource constraints happen, that there can be no resource issue that particular or also even sometimes the cluster results also sometimes issue happens. So that's why you are not able to deploy particular deployment. So you can rectify this by using I mean, you need to check whether you have given the resource block or not. You have given the resource block. You can be able to decrease this. If you are not able to decrease this, you can increase the node size and using in AWS you can able to increase this size, and just instance of you can have the larger one so that you can able to deploy it. There are other option is sometimes developer use a lot of pods. They deploy it into the cluster. So that's why the IP addresses are available in the cluster. Sometimes all are consumed, so there can be lack of IP. So this is one of the error can happen. So if this error happens, you can know that if there are some unused ports, you can just delete unused ports and deploy this deployment. And if everything is fine, and sometimes the liveliness probe will fail, that application like application level issues sometimes happens. So there you can use Kubernetes logs and deployment name, and this you can able to you can able to get the logs of the particular application. So there you can check what is the issue, and you can also collaborate with the developers to like if it's the developer problem from developer side, you can also inform the developers and rectify the issue. So this is how you can troubleshoot if there are any problems with the deployment. So some of the troubleshooting I used to do in our project.
Okay. So you have experience with the Helm also, right?
Ah yes.
Okay. So what do you mean by Helm or Helm chart?
So Helm is a tool for Kubernetes packages, like Kubernetes packages called charts. So with Helm, you can able to that you can able to package and deploy Kubernetes applications with the help of Helm very easily. So Helm provides a lot of flexibilities. Like you can create a Helm chart from scratch. Also, you can archive the Helm charts into archive file. You can also interact with the chart repo, and also you can use the Helm to install particular Kubernetes application, or also you can upgrade to particular version. And Helm also saves this uh, all the releases in its database, so you can able to roll back to previous release also. So it will just increase the functionality. It will just make easier to deploy Kubernetes applications and manage the YAML files for particular application.
Okay. So here for writing a Helm chart, we use multiple functions. So can you list some of the functions which you have used?
Yes, I used functions like map and file function. File function is one which I used to use the most actually, and also sometimes upper and lower function I use it, and um, these are the like daily basis user functions, and but there are other built-in functions available which somehow one or two times I must have used, but not able to recall. So whenever if I had any functionality requirements, so I used to go to the Kubernetes documents to find out required function and I used to use it. But mostly I use these functions like file function and map function, upper and lower functions.
What is include? What is define?
So in Helm, so the define is define. With a define, you can use. Uh, okay, wait. You said Helm for functions, right?
Yeah.
Uh, Last question. Okay, I think I answered. Sorry, I answered the Terraform. Sorry. So functions in Helm. Like you can define the functions like for example there is a in chart directory there is a in templates there is I think hyphen helpers dot html. There you can define any functions like for example you can define function for labels to be used. You can also define function for selectors to be used. You can also define other functions like names and all. So I normally used to create functions for labels to be used and selectors to be used by using the command by using hyphen define sorry like define and labels and define and selectors, and this I used to call in our like like wherever we want like whatever template we want like deployment or HP or other services. There you have to use hyphen include to call that function there like where you can call all the uh, objects or you can call particular object if you want.
Okay. So how you deploy? How you do the deployment using the Helm? What is the command?
You can use Helm install and the release name and the demo like chart name. This is how you can deploy chart into the Kubernetes cluster.
Okay. And how you can validate the Helm charts, whether any validation or any syntax
You can
error.
use Helm lint command, Helm lint the chat name. It will able to. It will just give you whether all the syntax is correct or not. If there are any error, it will show you. So before installing, you have to just check Helm lint like whether everything is fine or not. And before that also you can use Helm manifest option also. It will just give you the manifest file created by in this chart, and there you can check whether everything is fine or not. So because there, if there are any syntax error, it will show there, and you can use Helm link to just validate it, and then you can install it.
How you roll back to the previous version using Helm?
Yeah, you can use. You can use Helm rollback and undo and release name and demo name. It will just go to the previous version, and you can also go to the previous version, like particular version, by using Helm rollback, then release name and the demo name, and you have to use hyphen hyphen to hyphen revision, and you have to give the name where you want to previously go. So these two options you can use to roll back to the previous version.
Okay. So how strong you are with the Terraform?
Yeah, I can call it as a 7 or 6 in Terraform. In like I worked in managing the infrastructure, but all the files, manufacturing files are already written. So I used to change as per the requirement of the management in infra.
Okay. So what are the commands you used in a Terraform?
So if all the config files are written in project structure, you need to initiate this project. So that's why you have to use the Terraform init. So whenever you use Terraform init, it will just first it will initialize the backend, and it will next initialize the provider plugin, and next it will initialize the child modules available in the project structure. So once all this is done, you can use Terraform validate to check whether everything is fine with syntax and all. If there are any error, it will show. You can rectify it there only. And if that is also fine, you can go for a Terraform plan. So it will just compare the desired state with the actual infra available, and like that is it will just compare the desired state with the .tf state file available, and it will come up with the execution plan required, that is steps to required to achieve the desired state. And you can check all changes it is being made to achieve the desired state, like if there any unnecessary changes or so, and all. You can also, if you want, you can save this plan using Terraform plan and hyphen out then the file name. It will just save this plan into a particular file, and you can also save this file with the senior management or peers in order to review it. Is actually based on the requirement, and if everything is fine, you can just go ahead and apply using Terraform apply. And if you want to apply particular plan, you have to use Terraform apply, then that file name where you saved that plan. It will just apply that particular plan and achieve the desired state. So these are few of the steps I used to do in my work with Terraform.
Okay. Suppose two members are applying or creating the resources simultaneously. Then how this Terraform behave?
So if two members at a time apply, like at a time do Terraform apply, so it will create Terraform does not support a simultaneous apply. So what it does, it will just create a lock ID based on one person, and it will wait. It will take second person's request as a queue, and it will first execute the first person's request. And once that is done, it will go for second person's request, and it will create lock ID for that person, and it will start applying the changes from second person.
Okay. And you have experience with the Terraform modules also, right?
Yes, yes. We used to maintain the module structure for our project.
So how you call the modules?
Uh, you mean if you want to call the child module as the main module, so you just used to have like module, then module name, and inside it in that block you have to give the source where that module is. So this is basically how you call it. And if you want to pass any variables there, you can pass the variables inside the block. For example, if you are calling instance like EC2 module, and you have used variables for instance type and like key and all. So there you can pass those values at a main module. While you give the source block, you can have their type and key, and those values will be passed in the module and created. So this is how you can call module.
Okay. So here I want to pass the output of one module to the input to the another module.
Yes, for this you have to create. For example, let's take two modules. So and we want to pass the values from first module to the second module. So in first module, you have to create output, and whatever value you want, we have to create output for that value. And like for example, the output name here is um, let's just take public IP. So output public IP, and you have to decide give the value for this is in value block in value, and you can have the instance IP there for EC2. And once this output is defined in first module, you can call this in second module. In second module, what you have to do is uh, uh, like for example, if you want if you want to be like if you want this public IP to be saved in one variable or in one parameter or any type, what you can do is for any like for example, if you want to save this in particular variable, you have what you can give is variable equal to module dot and that module name and that output IP name, that's public IP, output variable name, that's public IP. This you need to define in second module inside the block module and this module name, that is first module name. And you have to also give the source also that location of this module, and then inside that block you can call this output and store it in particular variable if you want.
Okay. So in Ansible, what is difference in ad hoc commands and playbook?
So ad hoc commands are only meant for one task, and also you can't reuse and collaborative work with ad hoc commands. That is a one-time thing, and it's normally used for updating the servers and checking the disk spaces and pinging the servers to know whether they are up or not. So for that purposes, you use ad hoc commands using Ansible. Um Ansible like Ansible and that hyphen I think so Ansible that hyphen a, and you can pass the argument. Sorry, Ansible that group name and hyphen a, then you can pass the whatever command you want. And the playbook is where if you are applying task multiple times, and there are also very complex configuration you want to do, and these are not possible with uh, IDO commands. So there we use playbooks which are written in an YAML file, and it contains multiple. Like playbook is made from multiple plays. Each play will have each particular target and a task. It should have at least one target and one task, and it can have multiple tasks. That will create one play, and you can have multiple plays like this. And that's how you can have a complex configuration defined in playbook, and you can able to store it into GitHub also, so that other people can able to update and contribute to it, and collaborative work in teams can be done. And also all the repetitive tasks you can configure and save it, so that you can just apply every time you need it. So that's the main difference.
Okay. What are the handlers in a Ansible?
So handlers in Ansible are like they just look for particular task to be done, and whenever particular task is done, it will just trigger the task we have defined in handlers. So, for example, let's just say we have a task called start Nginx, and whenever and we have defined that whenever this task is completed, you have defined to notify particular handler, the handler name. So whenever this task is completed, that Nginx is installed, it will just notify the particular handler. So that handler will execute the task defined there, and the task defined there may be to start this Nginx. So whenever Nginx is installed, it will just trigger the handler, and handler will trigger the task which is to start this Nginx. So that's how handlers work.
Okay, great. So coming to the monitoring side, so what kind of experience you have in a monitoring side?
So in monitoring side, we used to create like dashboards based on the requirements, and we used to monitor the dashboard on daily basis, and and also we used to create alert manager, and yeah. So this is the basically what I used to do in monitoring side.
So what kind of dashboard you created? Like, yeah, you used to
So we
monitor,
used
but
to use the Grafana for creating dashboards, and Prometheus to scrape the data from servers like Kubernetes cluster and Jenkins, and we used to scrape the data, and used to use that data to be visualized in Grafana. So dashboards is one dashboard was to create to monitor Kubernetes cluster, its CPU performance and memory performance. We used to have a close watch on it. And another thing is we used to create another dashboard for number of pods, and number of pods successful, and number of pods failed, and this is one of the dashboard we used to have. Another dashboard is we have integrated Jenkins server to the Prometheus also. So we used to monitor Jenkins servers in Prometheus. All this like CPU performance and memory. So these mainly we used to trigger the monitor, um, and also the network related. Uh, Dashboards also we have created, like how many if you have configured any networks like node port and load balancers, because these especially load balancer it used to cost us. So only for testing we used to do the load balancer, so we need to delete those load balancer and use the ingress. So that there also in service we used to create another dashboard which used to tell how many load balancers in this and other services are up right now, so that We don't increase the cost by just leaving any load balancer in the cloud.
Okay. Okay, fine then. So